welcome to the panel discussion. For this session, we have invited important players in our coatings industry. The voice of external stakeholders is and was very important for the sustainability agenda of allnex. So we would like to thank our panelists who took their time and who could join this discussion. Let me introduce you our speakers. And I would like to start with Katherine Berry, representing American Coatings Association, which is important partner for allnex. Good morning to you, Katherine. Hi.
Good morning. How are you?
We are very good today. I hope you are good too. Thank you for joining this panel discussion.
Of course.
Then we had just a couple of seconds ago Wijnand Bruinsma, who represents AkzoNobel, and we hope to... Hi, Wijnand, here you are back again.
I am just in time.
Thank you. So Wijnand from AkzoNobel, a company which is considered to be a true early adopter of sustainable concepts. Hi, Wijnand, and good to see you with us.
Hi, good to see you. Happy to be here.
Thank you very much for joining this discussion. We also plan to welcome Philip Towson, representing Perstorp, an important raw material supplier for allnex. We hope Philip can tackle some technical issues and will be able to join us in a couple of minutes. And of course, Davy De Clercq, representing allnex. Well, with saying that, I would like to hand over to you, Davy, and Davy will start and will moderate this discussion.
Okay, thanks a lot, Daria. Welcome to our guests. Welcome, Katherine. Welcome, Wijnand, and also welcome, Philip. Hopefully, pretty soon. Glad to have you here. The last session of our 3-day sustainability conference. So we said, let's make it an interactive session involving people along the value chain, important partners for allnex, because in the end, sustainability is something that cannot just be tackled alone in a company. We will only tackle sustainability challenges and find the opportunities together, and if we collaborate together. And that's also how I structure a bit this panel discussion today. I would like to structure it along the idea of the threats and challenges and opportunities that the fast evolving sustainability agenda might bring to our industry. And therefore, ladies first, Katherine. I will ask you first to comment on what you see, and especially then sustainability related threats and challenges our industry is already facing today, or if not facing today, might face in the near future, and of course everything related to sustainability elements.
Yeah, of course. So the American Coatings Association is the premier trade association for the paint industry in the US, but we act as secretariat for the World Coatings Council, which is the global trade association that represents the several other trade associations around the world. And earlier this year, we put out our first, or we're going to put out our first sustainability report. And we worked with a consultant to kind of poll the industry globally of issues and complete a materiality assessment when it comes to sustainability in our industry, utilizing the trade associations. And the top 3 issues that came back that said that the industry wants to work on these when it comes to sustainability were, conducting more information on life cycle management of the products as well as their containers, tracking and reporting greenhouse gas emissions. I think as we see ESG is getting bigger, we're seeing more regulation that has to do with climate change and sustainability. Tracking greenhouse gases is going to be key. And another one that we saw was digitalization, getting everyone on board with ensuring that all of their company records and all of their tracking management systems are up to date and able to be used. So I would say those are the 3 things that we learned through the materiality assessment that are challenges or opportunities for improvement for the industry.
Okay, great to hear that. Also probably not a surprise, at least not a surprise to me. I think also not to Wijnand. The importance of data accuracy, the amount of data that we need to collect moving forward. Anything you would like to add, Wijnand, to data, but maybe also other challenges and threats you see?
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree more with what Katherine said. Data is a key thing. Talking about life cycle models, carbon footprint data across the value chain are key things. Just taking one step back and looking at the industry challenges that we're faced with, well, there are so many on the long term, short term. It is from the more economical, the potential stagflation. It's about geopolitical situation. So there's many things. It's new legislation coming up for chemical substances. So there's so many things happening. But if you really kind of take a little bit longer term perspective, I think we have one clear challenge as a society, as a company, and as a value chain, which is the climate change and battling climate change. And for everybody who is still unsure about it, it is a key thing. Look at the flooding that we had in Belgium, in Germany, and in the Netherlands last year. But even much bigger is what happened in Pakistan, where millions of people were impacted. This is unraveling. This is something we should just see the first things of. And that's where I think everybody, each individual, each company, and each industry plays a vital role in tackling this. And at least we at AkzoNobel see that as one of the key challenges of our generation. And that's why we picked up that glove and really set some ambitious targets on reducing the carbon footprint, not only for our own operations, but really for the whole value chain. And to Davy's point, that's about data, that's about collaboration, because it is really something nobody can do on its own. Yes, we can take care of our own operations, and we're progressing well, and we're behind the steering wheel, if you like. But if you talk about the full value chain, that is something which is much bigger, but also much more challenging. And I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about the opportunities and the possibilities for the future. But this is, I would say, the key challenge of our generation and of our industry.
Yeah. Well, indeed, yeah, many challenges. Yeah, today also challenges ahead of us. So strong collaboration will be needed. Strong collaboration in our value chain, also with suppliers like Perstorp and trade organizations like the one of Katherine. And the data, let's say, the data are there, very important. Companies will have to put a lot of focus and resources in the non-financial data, and this is important. Because the data have to show that the companies are also somewhat behaving in line with the claims that they make. So the data that we need to collect and report, and it's not only collecting, reporting, but in the future also that it should be audited. It's just to make sure that you are, let's say, reporting in a fair way, and it's also a level playing field for all different companies. So that's, I think, an important element, and we should change our look into doing business and doing business in a more ethical way. So the longer term perspective should be important. And I think that's also what we all agree on, and where the true value of a company is. So it's not just the money value of a company, but also how can a company change and shape the future. And that's those are challenges. But on the other hand, where there are challenges and threats, there are also opportunities. And in a fast evolving world and fast evolving topics, there might be many opportunities. So of course also for our industry. So Wijnand, you for sure see also many opportunities.
I definitely do, but just to respond to your point about data and about having the right data and having also had it been audited, it been checked externally, that is a key thing for me, because data and data quality is something which is of the essence. If we want to steer in the right direction, we need to know what we're talking about, and we need to all use the same methodology and the way to do things. So for me, that is truly one of the key challenges, but also one of the key solutions. Having the data in there, having it externally assured by an assurance provider, are key things, and about data sharing is another key thing. Now, if we're talking about opportunities, I think then I'm really getting excited because there are plenty of opportunities out there. If we're talking from a sustainability point of view, and you just kind of picture the landscape a little bit of all of the stakeholders. Well, think about governments. There's increased legislation on reporting, but also on public spending to get more sustainable solutions there. So there's that push for more sustainability. If you look at the investors, they're increasingly looking for more sustainable investments to make. It becoming more and more one of the criteria to focus on. And also society, you see much more emphasis on actually what's happening out there, which is creating awareness for sustainability and also giving a platform for becoming more sustainable and also being able to supply products there. But I think the key thing here is customers. And we truly see that customers are moving more and more into more sustainability and more sustainable solutions, decarbonizing the products that they're having. And that is sometimes because of legislation. Taxation of carbon is in some areas is a key thing, but there's also more and more societal and customer demand for those products. But this requires two things for me, and Davy already touched upon them. It's about innovation and it's about collaboration. Working together is the key thing in developing new products, but also new business models, new ways of working. And we had the pleasure to set up our Paint the Future Collaborative Sustainability Challenge earlier this year. Because despite all of the good initiatives and all of the good intentions in our industry, we do see that it is complicated to really move the needle when it comes to carbon reduction throughout the whole value chain. And many things can be solved in two companies working together, but even more can be solved if you bring a whole value chain and a whole network together. And that's actually what we've done there, bringing suppliers, customers, governments, academia, investors, NGOs all together to really find the hacks, if you like, so the solution areas for decarbonizing our industry. And we're really pleased to work together with allnex, but also with Periscope in that event. And that is just the starting point because much more is needed there. Sorry, David.
Perfect. No, it's good. Yeah, so you're passionate on the topic, and that's why we invited you, Wijnand. And Katherine, you for sure want to add to those points, yeah?
Yeah, I do. I think that something that's really amazing about the paint and coatings industry is that, coatings in essence are sustainable. I mean, if you look at what they do, they protect the substrates, making a myriad of products, infrastructure, housing, last long. Inherently, we're already starting from a point do inherently so many be beautiful and be pleasant to be around, which is a key to sustainability from a social perspective, but also the fact that you're protecting so much traits. I think that's really important. I think that, honing that message, I think especially if there is data, unified data to back that up, I think it is a great message to have. It already puts us in a great position when we're talking about sustainability and what the industry has to offer. And it makes my job sure working at the trade association. I think, and I think that, the coatings industry has provided a lot of solutions that will help in this field. I mean, we have solar reflective architectural paints, electric vehicle battery coatings that are possible now because of the coatings industry, marine paints that severely limit the transfer of invasive species. You have opportunities. I think that there are several opportunities for growth. I think a big one, and you mentioned, carbon emissions and looking at that. I think a big opportunity is recycling. I think that increasing the recyclability of paint itself, as well as the containers that they come in, is a big opportunity for the industry. On the back end, I know in the US, we're seeing a lot of extended producer responsibility laws and regulations that are helping to kind of mitigate that in the future. So I think those are great opportunities. That the fact that we have a great message and the fact that, you know, we're already on a path. We're having these conversations. We've been having these conversations early, and I think that's incredibly helpful in combination with the growing need for data. So we have the opportunity to own our own story, I think is really important.
Okay. Good, thanks a lot. And it's clear. So we are all convinced, of course, it would be surprising if we would give a different message of the important role that coatings can play in this, let's say, sustainability transition. And next to those protective elements, as mentioned by Katherine, which are of course very important because we contribute to the fact that substrates can live longer, which is a critical element of the circular economy model. But we as a coatings industry, we can also detect important trends like shared mobility. In the end, the shared mobility, what you see, all those scooters in the larger cities, people don't care, or maybe shared cars. People will not care about the color of the car. They will just care to find a car that what they can use, which is clean enough to drive to the next location and then leave it behind. And that will also be, let's say, those are one of the things to keep in mind. So we need to make sure that coatings are robust enough in order that we can share objects, so that we might need less to produce, but in the end, we can share them. We make them better. We make them robust, and they can live long enough. And as mentioned, also, look at recycling streams, opportunities to include recycled streams in our products. Of course, there our suppliers like Perstorp will help us, and still Philip is trying to get in, but doesn't manage to get in. Will help us also there, and that's the great thing. So sustainability is really about collaboration. It's not just company centered focusing. It's really looking at a complete value chain, which is of course also an interesting dimension of the sustainability topic. So many opportunities, many challenges, many opportunities ahead of us, but we all agree that it's an important thing to collaborate on. A last question I have, and also good that Katherine is here. So sustainability, it's a topic that gets global attention, but for sure there are regional differences, and those regional differences, how I observe it, are in fact becoming smaller and smaller. So we know that Europe has the Green Deal, but America is catching up very quickly with their own regulations, and we see also China moving, and people in Southeast Asia and governments putting restrictions and law in place. So it's not just something in Europe or something in the US. It's a broad thing, and also there this should make us happy, because we often think about is it, how competitive will it be, and what about the regions? But in the end, we should not look too much into those things. As a company, as an organization, we should try to do the good things and push the good things through in the value chain. So that's, let's say, the mission we can take and a responsibility we have. Right, Wijnand?
Yeah, I'm nodding here because absolutely. Yeah. So yes, if we look at it from a global perspective, in many cases it is Europe or America who is first with working on certain topics. But China and many other Asian companies are much faster in their legislation. So, and also society and the preferences and demand there is moving in many cases faster than they move here. So we might think that it takes longer. They may start a little bit later, but they move much faster, and that's really good, because many of the challenges we're also faced with are global challenges. It's not, and many of the things are not local challenges that we are encountering. And therefore, it is essential. And the better it is aligned, the better it is also for companies, and the easier it is to actually steer in that direction. So, no, absolutely. And to your point, Davy, recycling, more renewable materials, these are ways to really make a big impact, having an impact on circularity. Yeah? It's about but it's also about carbon footprint reduction, which is part of that actually. So in many cases, it's actually it has the same impact. It works in the same direction, which is really encouraging, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that I mean, climate change is a global issue, right? It's not just affecting Europe and America, affecting everyone. I think that there is a wide understanding and acknowledgement of that. So I definitely think that there are going to be changes that reflect that. We're already seeing changes that reflect that. I think when we completed the materiality assessment and looked at, through the global trade associations, kind of where the world was at, there are people who are further along than others. But what we did see was a willingness to get there. I think that, there was a, we need to catch up on this. We need to understand this. And I think frameworks like the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, I think those are a great opportunity to get everyone to understand, the all-encompassing nature of sustainability and sustainable development. So I do see regional differences. I think that there are some areas that are further ahead than others. I mean, Europe is leading the initiatives on this, but I definitely see a willingness from all other areas to catch up, which I think is really important. That's key, that everyone's kind of in tune with this issue.
Okay, thanks a lot, Katherine and Wijnand, for the great discussion so far. So I tackled the topics that I had on my list. So the challenges, the opportunities, and the regional differences. But I'm pretty confident that we will have many questions in the Q&As in the Q&A part of this live stream. So I would like to ask Daria to join us again and to moderate the Q&A. And there she is. Hi, Daria.
Sure, with pleasure. And indeed, we have some questions for you. So let me start with the one that has the majority of the votes here. So sustainability has different aspects, and one of them is social aspect. Actually, Katherine mentioned quickly on that. Could you share with us your plans and your views on this?
And
who would like to take this one?
Yeah, I can take it, but Katherine, if you like, you can start. What you prefer?
I think that sure, I can. I mean, as a trade association, I think our view is a little bit different. I think this is a more company specific question, to be honest. But I do think that as an industry, from what we're seeing through our development of our sustainability report and programs, as well as others, that the concept of social aspects, diversity and inclusion, especially at the executive level, is something that's really important. Something that, when writing and participating in sustainability programs, that usually is an aspect of something that you have to track and calculate. That is some data. I think that when it comes to certain social aspects, when it comes to data collection, I think that we're a little behind on that from what I've seen. I think that the industry could be a little bit better about, tracking and collecting that data. I know it's a relatively, it's not a new concept, but it's something else that needs to be developed a little bit further. I see you're shaking your head, so maybe I'm wrong on that. But I think programs like, ensuring access to equal access to paint products, ensuring equal access to recyclable. We have a paint care program here where people can donate leftover paint for reuse. Equal access to that, in neighborhoods that might need it, and making sure that they have opportunities to participate too is very key. I think the industry is doing exceptionally good in that regard. I think that ensuring access to programs and utilizing allowing open access to paint is great. I think that aspect is good.
Yeah, I would fully agree with you, Katherine. So Social part is indeed a central part. At AkzoNobel, we have people, planet, paint as our company purpose, and that people is there for a really good reason. That is the social part, and it is about our own organization. So talking about the gender balance in the company, the gender equality in remuneration, these kind of things. But it's also the social aspect of what's happening in the communities around us and in the whole value chain. And that is as wide as employees, that is health and safety, but that's also how our products being produced throughout the value chain. And the human rights side of things is something that we all should not forget in that. And last but certainly not least is also the social program side of it, or at the CSR side. We're talking about regional differences. It is one of the key regional differences that at least I see is at the projects that we do under Let's Color is renovating and uplifting communities. And that is something where we really can help areas to improve the living conditions of people with something as simple as paint. So that is absolutely is a fundamental part of sustainability.
And I and that's right. And also I would compliment AkzoNobel for the initiatives that they take in that area. And we, what is important, we as a company have a choice where we buy our products, and we buy our products to suppliers that we can trust, that they treat their employees in a fair way. So it's also not only, as Wijnand said, not only about our own employees. Of course, in allnex we treat our employees fair, but we should also care for the employees upstream in the value chain. And that's I know because AkzoNobel is auditing allnex on those elements, and we have to provide detailed explanations on the questions they have. But I think it's a very good practice that you have in place, Wijnand. So.
Thank you very much for answering this, everyone. And let's move to the next question. We have a bunch of questions here. How about the potential competition for land between bio-based materials for chemicals on the one hand and agriculture for food production on the other? Can you please comment on that?
I can can say something about this. This is what makes my life and my job so interesting, because they're extremely challenging trade-offs that need to be made. And certainly that is one of the things that we incorporate in decision making when we're talking about more bio-based materials. In many cases, it's and we tend to think of really big areas that are needed for certain materials. Now, if you look at currently how that is split, that is not really the larger areas which are being used for these type of products. But of course, with every product and every change that we make, we take this into consideration.
I would like to add to that question is we should be smart with all the resources that we are generating in a year. And if we use, let's say, bio-based products for food, often there is also some part of the crop that is otherwise going to waste. And this part, if we treat it in a smart way, can also be converted into chemicals or into raw materials. So it's maybe not only the part that will provide you the food, but it's also the full crop can be useful for this. So that's the first thing. So let's be smart and use the food for the food, and use maybe the waste from the agricultural stuff to produce chemicals out of it. And the second thing is, and it was already touched a couple of times during our conference, is recycling. So we should not look too much into bio. It's important, yeah, but we should also focus more and more on recycling, plastics recycling, and all these things. And if you talk about opportunities for the coatings industry, I think in plastics recycling we can have huge opportunities, because we can maybe with coatings solve one of the biggest recyclability issues today in the world, those composite plastics for food protection. If we can come with a good solution for moisture and oxygen barriers, then we can maybe go for one type of plastic and make it easy to recycle. So that's my my small part to this question.
Very good. So we can move to the next question, and it's a question about employees. Yeah, in a multinational corporation, it's pretty hard to get everyone on the same page. So the question is how you do that, and do you expect to implement special programs for that, or do you also think about tracking the results of this exercise? How to
David,
get everyone on,
I
on
can take
board?
it.
no,
I can
yeah,
start. It's
I can
okay. I
start,
can
but I don't
start. Yeah,
start.
no, no. So let me. So it's right. But it's difficult in a big global organization to get everyone on board or on the same page. But I think it depends on the topic. Yeah. If it's about sustainability, where should we discuss about? Yeah. So it's clear we can maybe discuss on some details and maybe how fast we go on certain elements, but the direction should be clear. It should not go in opposite directions. Everyone, for it's about if it's about sustainability, we know which direction we have to go to. So not so
Yeah,
complex, I would say.
yeah. No, I think I fully agree with you, Davy. So, is that complex? Yes, it's a multinational. Yeah, we're over 30,000 people worldwide. But it's also not something we just started doing. And we do this already for many years. And this is really part of the culture. So it's not only about what do we the current employees, but also new employees are joining actually because of sustainability. So therefore, I don't see that as our biggest challenge is actually to get our own employees aligned towards these ambitions that we have.
Yeah, I don't have a ton to add here. I don't work for a multinational corporation, but I do. We do act as the secretariat for the World Coatings Council, and I can say that I think because our entire job is to get everyone to cooperate. That's my role. But I do think that something that Davey had mentioned earlier. I think that the gap between regional differences is closing, especially in the sustainability arena, and I think that's helping company culture. I think that's helping messaging across internal companies. I think that because everyone understands the importance of sustainability, it's an easier message, something that everyone can rally behind. So hopefully that, given the topic and given this enthusiasm for it, it should help close gaps across different regions.
Thank you very much, everyone, for answering this question. We are running out of time, but there is still one question I would like you to ask. Everyone okay with that?
Okay.
We are.
Thank you very much. What regulatory trends do you think we should expect in the near future?
Uh,
Who is going to be first?
Do you want me to start?
Good.
Katherine,
Sure.
please.
So something that I'm seeing that has been coming across my desk more and more is microplastics. I think that's something that is, aside from, we mentioned how, Europe is putting out the new Green Deal. I think that the US is trying to catch up with that. I think there is going to be a lot of catch up when it comes to how, these things are regulated across several industries, not just ours. But a very specific issue that I'm seeing grow and grow is this concept of microplastics. It's here in the US, and I think regulation is already starting to form in Europe about it. I think that's an issue that's not going to go away, especially for the paint industry, for several other industries. I know fabric is another one. Road paint or road markings and rubber tires are going to be a big issue. But I think that something that keeps me up at night, something that I've seen regularly is microplastic regulation. I think that's going to get bigger.
Yeah, to add to that, so what is happening is with the Green Deal and the chemical strategy that is the European Commission is working on, that is going to have an impact, and that's changing the way we look at the use of chemicals. So there's a lot going to happen there. The other part is, and David touched upon that already, is about reporting. And there's going to be much stricter requirements on how to report on ESG, so on sustainability and governance related topics. which I really applaud because it makes it a level playing field. So it is really something important, but this requires really a lot from many companies, and it also will require that you get external assurance on that. So that's another key thing that we're expecting to see coming from regulators indeed.
Fully aligned, yeah. But there will be many things. We have many things ahead of us. What I would say, I think also we in our industry, we are already today doing things before before the regulation is kicking in, and this is the nice thing. It's also the good thing to do. So I feel pretty well prepared, even with, let's say, more severe regulations ahead of us. We are doing already more than what regulation is asking us today, so we should be fine.
On that note, I would like to conclude this panel discussion, and I would like to say thank you, Wijnand, thank you, Katherine, for joining, for taking your time. We really appreciate your participation, and yeah, I hope to see you in our next sustainability conference.
Thanks a lot
Thanks
for
a
having
lot.
me here. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Katherine,
I really
Wijnand.
appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
thank you. And
Bye.
so thanks, Daria, for also moderating this Q&A, and I have some closing words after these 3 intensive days of sustainability conference. So now it's also the time, let's say, to take the opportunity to thank all the allnex colleagues who contributed to these 3 days of sessions. It was a huge task to get this organized. So let me first start by thanking all the people behind the scenes that prepared this, because sometimes they are forgotten, but we worked on this with many different colleagues. And also during these 3 days, many colleagues that you have not seen on the screen were working hard in order to have all those things well organized. And then we have, of course, all the speakers, speakers that had to prepare sometimes pretty technical content and translate it in easy to understand slides. And not only that, they also brought it live on stage. So there were no recorded session. Everything was live on stage, also the Q&A. So thanks a lot to the speakers for the efforts that they put in this conference. And then, of course, thanks a lot to Daria, who was there in every session in order to moderate it and kick it off. So fantastic job, Daria. You did very well. And of course, the audience. Yeah. So what is a conference without an audience? It would be a bit silly, of course, and a loss of time. But we had a lot of good participation. A lot of people registered for these sessions. A lot of people listened to these sessions live. And I'm also confident that many people will still consult the sessions which are recorded and that you will be able to find on the platform on Monday. And please do so and reach out to the allnex team. Their contact details are also still on the platform, so you can reach out to the team. But thanks a lot for participating. You made it tough, because we had a lot of difficult and challenging questions, but that is just a proof that we had the right audience on board. So we can also be we can only be very grateful by this fantastic audience. So I would say thanks a lot. Thanks for the good collaboration, and thanks for sharing this passion about sustainability with me and the allnex team. And I look forward to meet you soon. So thanks a lot. Have a nice evening. And
Thank you
see you
very
later.
much, Davy. And a couple of words from my side as well. I would like to remind everyone, our Allnex employees, our attendees, everyone who participated in this conference, that all the sessions are recorded and the recordings will be available on Monday, 17th of October here on the platform. Everyone who participated, everyone who registered to this conference will receive a separate email with the link to those recordings. All the recordings are available until 11th of January 2023. So you will have still time to watch them. All the presentation that you saw during these 3 days of the conference will be ready for the download on Monday. Actually, presentations of day 1 and day 2 are already there, and you can find them on the left-hand side of your screen in the ribbon presentations of the day. So with saying that, thank you very much, everyone, our customers, our partners, allnex employees, our stakeholders, our friends. Thank you for being with us during these 3 days. And, well, enjoy the rest of the day, and we hope to see you again. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
See you. Thanks a lot.